Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ICEM 2021. Our sponsor talk will begin shortly. Please be advised to stand by. Thank you. Ms. Chin, are you ready, or would you like to test your sharing screen first?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Loud and clear, right?
Yeah, loud and clear.
All right, thanks.
Okay, can you try to share your screen so that if there is any technical problems, then our tech team can help you out.
Is it okay?
Yes, it's okay. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Chin. We're going to start at 1:10, so just 2 minutes from now. Ladies and gentlemen, we're honored to have Ms. Chim Lian from Pentas Flora Sendirian Berhad in this sponsor talk. Ms. Chim Lian will deliver a talk on greenhouse gases emission reduction from used oil collection and recycling program. If you have any questions, please send your questions to us via the presenter via the Q&A function in Zoom or in the comment section in YouTube. All questions will be addressed by the end of the sponsor talk presentation. Please welcome Ms. Chim Lian. The stage is yours.
Thank you, MC, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, on behalf of Pentas Flora, we would like to say thank you for the invitation to be one of the sharers for today. So First, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Lee In from Pentas Flora under Special Projects Department, and I will be sharing on this topic, greenhouse gases emission reduction from used oil collection and recycling program. So a little bit about Pentasfora. Pentasfora is established in 2010 and it holds licenses for recovery, storage, and transportation of scheduled wastes. Pentasfora is one of the largest collector and recycle for automotive waste, and we occupy about 60% of the market share. And our waste and recovery and treatment plant is located in Banting, Malaysia. Currently, we have employed 350 staff around Malaysia, and we are operating 10 waste transfer points around Malaysia with 17 more in the pipeline. So in Pentasfora, we have a unique used oil recycling process to treat the used oil, the oil filters, and also the used oil container in order to reduce the emissions of greenhouse gases. So just look at this one of the process flow. For the used engine oil, when transported to our Banting plant, the used engine oil will be re-refining using vacuum distillation process to produce fuel oil and also the base oil. And the base oil produced will be used to manufacture lubricant oil. As for the used oil filters and the oil containers, when they're transported to our Banting plant, they will be crushed or shredded. Then they will go to washing machine to wash it and clean prior disposal to plastic, paper, and metal recycling plants. So here's the question comes. So how much greenhouse gases savings can be achieved through the recycling program? So this is one of the report carried out by the Conestoga Rovers and Associates back in 2019 for the British Columbia Used Oil Management Association, or in short form we call it BCOMA. So for your information, BCOMA is actually a non-profit organization in British Columbia, and they are responsible for the operations of collections and recycling program for the used lubricant oil, oil filters, and used oil containers. So in this report, they actually analyze on the greenhouse gas savings from the operations of BCOMA's collections and recycling program. So through the BCOMA collection and recycling program, the used oil will be recycled to re-refine to lubricant oil products. And some of the used oil will be used up as fuel in pulp mills and also asphalt plants. As for the used oil filter, the paper and metal filters will be sent to metal broker, and subsequently they will send to the steel mills for processing into new steel products, whereas the paper is burned as part of the steel making operations. And the used oil container are processed to produce HDPE pellets, and subsequently they will send to the plastic manufacturers to be turned into various products. So in this study, they are comparing the greenhouse gases savings from two scenarios. First, the baseline scenario and also the project scenario. So in the baseline scenario, the carbon emission is created in the absence of a BCOMA collection and recycling program, whereby in this scenario, the used oil will be combusted at the generators. As for your information, the generators are mainly the auto service, the repair centers, and also the industrial operations. And the oil filters and containers were transported to landfill for final disposal. So in the project scenario, the carbon emission is created through the BCOMA collection and recycling program, whereby in this scenario, the used oil, the oil filters, and also the used oil containers were transported from the generator to the processors for the recycling purposes. So for this baseline and project scenario, they are actually divided into various elements which represent the specific processes that generate the carbon emissions, such as the transportation and materials processings. So first we look at the use oil. In a baseline scenario, the processes that generate the carbon emissions include during the crude oil extraction, during the transportation of crude oil to refinery plant, then during the refining process, and also the combustion of oil for heat at the generators. So in the project scenario, the used oil is either refined or they use as a fuel. So during the refining process, the carbon emissions is occur during the transportation from generator to collector to processor, and also during the refining processes. So another way, when the used oil is used as a fuel in asphalt plants and also pulp mills, so the carbon emission occur during the transportation from generator to collector to asphalt plants and also the pulp mills. And also the carbon is emitted during the combustion of the used oil at asphalt plants and also pulp mills. As for the used oil filters, in the baselines, so for the used oil filters, there are two things. First is the metal oil filters and also the paper filters. So as for the paper oil filters, in the baseline scenario, the carbon emission is generated during the production of steel, during the transportation of steel to steel mill, and also the transportation of steel filters to disposal facilities. Whereas in the project scenario, the carbon emission is generated during the transportation from generator to collector to steel oil filter processor to metal broker to and subsequently to steel mill. And also the carbon is emitted during the processing of steel oil filters when the steel oil filters were crushed into cubes and cylinders. So as for the paper filters, during in the baseline scenario, the carbon emission is generated during the transportation of the filters to the landfill and also during the decomposition of the filters in the landfill. And in the project scenario, the carbon emission is generated during transportation from generator to collector to paper oil filter processor. And also during the processing of paper filters, whereby the paper filters were crushed and incinerated. And finally, for the used oil containers, the processes that involve the carbon emission in the baseline scenario include production of HDPE, during the transportation from HDPE to plastic manufacture, and also transportation of oil containers to disposal facilities. Whereas in the project scenario, the carbon emission is generated during transportation from generator to collector to oil container processor, during the processing of oil containers, whereby the oil containers were shredded, centrifuged, washed, and pelletized, and also during the transportation from HDPE pellets to the plastic manufacturer. Okay. So based on the study report, the greenhouse gases savings results which have been achieved from this BCOMA program is very favorable because they achieve a very high greenhouse gases savings. For the used oil, they achieve about 60.1% of the greenhouse gases savings. For used oil filter, they achieve 95.1% of greenhouse gases savings. And also for the used oil container, they achieve about 96.8% of greenhouse gases savings. This savings is actually based on comparing from baseline and also the project scenarios. So this total greenhouse gases savings is which relies from this BCOMA program is equal to the following. Is equal to powering about 549,776 British Columbia households for 1 year. and also is equal to removing approximately 33,761 cars from the route. So it's very high greenhouse gas savings from this ECOMA collection and recycling program. So other than that, in terms of the functional units, the 3.65 kg of carbon dioxide equivalent per liter of used oil is re-refined as base oil. 1.02 kg of carbon dioxide equivalent per liter of used oil is recovered as fuel oil. 1.09 kg carbon dioxide equivalent per each oil filter, the used oil filter, is recycled in a steel mill, and 2.11 kg of carbon dioxide equivalent per kg of used oil container is recycled and sold as HDPE pellets. So in conclusions, based on this study, recycling and reusing the used oil filter and the used oil containers are preferable to disposal in landfill, as it can help to achieve higher greenhouse gases saving, and thus definitely it can provide a great environmental benefits. However, currently we are still facing some challenges for this used oil recycling industry. First of all, there's still lack of awareness among the waste generators. So the current most of the waste generators, they still tend to dispose the waste, especially to the highest bidder for oil or lowest bidder for the container or filter waste without proper screening. Secondly, fortunate waste collectors and waste recycling companies, which they did not recycle or recover waste with proper technologies, and some of them tend to mix with harmful chemicals to sell as recycled fuel oil. Thirdly, there's still some wrong perception of consumers about the recycling products, whereby the consumer tend to think that recycling products are less superior than the conventional products. However, in fact, API recognized the quality of re-refined base oil is on par with virgin base oil if proper technology is used. And fourthly, there's still lack of enforcement from the government, whereby there's no best practice to be enforced to eliminate the fraudulent used oil recyclers. And finally, slow implementations of the carbon credit program in Malaysia compared with neighboring countries are also our current challenges. So for your information, the carbon credit programs actually allow companies to compensate for their greenhouse gases emissions. So through this implementation of carbon credit program, it definitely can help to reduce the emissions of greenhouse gases. So our current challenge is still the slow implementation of this program in Malaysia. So in the nutshell, we hopefully that through this sharing, Pentas Fora could help to increase the awareness about the importance of the used oil recycling program in order to reduce the greenhouse gases emission globally. So with that, I would like to end my presentation here. Thank you. Back to you, MC.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Chim Lee-yin. And thank you for the very informative talk. On behalf of ICEM 2021, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Pentas Flora Sendirian Berhad for making this conference possible. Ladies and gentlemen, our sponsor talk ends here. Okay, so we have a question. All right, question for Ms. Chim Lee-yin. I'm interested on how will the used oil be collected from end users The project considers a scenario of multi-point collection or centralized collection method. And what are the source of used oil here?
Sorry, can you repeat the questions? Is it whether it's centralized solutions or?
The first question is they're interested to know on how will the used oil be collected from the end user.
Okay, basically, the used oil is collected from the generators. So mainly the generators involve the automotive center, the service center, and also the industrial area.
Okay, and the next question is, the project considers a scenario of multi-point collection or centralized collection method?
It's based on centralized collection method.
And the last question is, what is the source of used oil here?
What are the source of used oil here?
Yeah.
So the source is mainly from the generator, as I mentioned, mainly from the because we are in the we collect all the used motor oil mainly from the service center, yeah, and also the service center, and some of them they're from the industrial operations.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Chin Li. So I think this ends our Q&A session. Once again, I would like to thank you on behalf of ICEM 2021 and for Pentas Flora Sindarian Berhad for making this conference possible. Now that our sponsor talk has come to an end, our ICEM program will continue with our satellite event, an afternoon dive into scientific publishing. Please join us as we start shortly. Thank you.